Hello and welcome back to another episode of United We Stand, Divided We podcast. I am Robert. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always got to start out with something in the beginning. I am Robert from just outside Nashville in the U.S. with my co-host Lionel from the great country of Canada.
Toronto, Canada, to be specific. And if I might say, be prepared. We have some wonderful things to talk about. Samsung Unpacked was today. So we've got some new things to talk about there. And just be prepared for this fully operational battle. I'm sorry, I meant podcast. That's right. Yeah, well, we're gonna guns a blazing here. First of all, I have positive and laughably negative things to say about not podcast. Putting ourselves under the bus. Unpacked. But let's let you, because you saw it live. I had to go back and watch it later because I was in a meeting and then went to lunch, and so I missed the second half of it. I actually did catch almost all but the first 5 minutes, which was just a lot of this anyways. So,
well, before we get into that, first, I do want to quickly mention, obviously, the momentous occasion of the inauguration on Monday of
I thought we were going to leave that till later.
No, I'm going to get it out of the way. Just be done with it, just because it's
all right. Fair
topic.
Enough.
Look, the man has lost his mind with his little pen and all.
I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. I have to stop you. How do you lose what you don't have? Please go on.
Well, at any rate, the supposed tariffs now are supposed to be put off until February.
Yeah.
He's now talking to China about tariffing their stuff even more, and he's made all his executive, pen swipes and. Yeah. So, look, there's going to be a lot of content we're going to be able to come up with, I'm sure, over the next few months between U.S., Canada.
I think there's some things to talk about. But you know what? Very briefly.
It is an important topic, though. You don't like to talk about it, but it's an important topic.
Okay, listen. You have heard about the Blackhawks, right? Not the hockey team, the helicopters.
No, I have not heard about Black Hawk helicopters.
Canada has Black Hawk helicopters now. The first ones are starting now, patrolling the U.S.-Canada border, the Canadian side. So,
did we give those to you? I'm just kind of curious. I mean,
I guarantee you, Canada didn't just find them at the bottom of the ocean. Where else are they going to get Black Hawk helicopters from? I mean, first of all, they're old. Right, and Canada buys old stuff. I was going to say, we're not exactly the richest country, but that's in my opinion, is kind of dumb. But they don't need anything more than a Black Hawk helicopter for the purpose that they want it, because it can be fitted with all of the FLIR and infrared and all that stuff that they need, and that's pretty much it. Also, they can have quite a few armed guards if they need to, if they think something untoward is going on. And it's so much easier to cooperate on both sides of the border in such a case, because they communicate with each other now, like, very well. They could communicate with their superiors and then be patched in directly with the U.S. side and say, yeah, we got guys crossing right now. We can only go so far. We only have this jurisdiction. We'll guide you from the air. I mean, Donald Trump, if you don't think that's good enough, fart you.
Well, a few funny things I'm just going to mention, and then we're going to move on, because we could spend hours talking about this. But first off, I saw a video, excuse me, I don't know if it was somebody in the, forgive me, I don't know the Danish, government, process and how it's set up, but anyways, one of their top guys was basically told Donald Trump to F off. He literally said that Greenland's not for sale.
Literally,
you can't have Greenland. Yeah, he literally said, and I'm gonna put in words that Donald Trump will understand. Donald Trump, F off. you're not getting Greenland. I'm just like, oh, here we go.
Here's the thing. You got to be careful because with all the contracts that they've had over the decades for military bases, inevitably as a country, if you find that someone is basically breaking that tradition by trying to take something from you, and trying to overstep their welcome, basically, their boundaries, then legally, by law, they can tell them, you got to get out. You're not welcome anymore. And they have, if I'm not mistaken, they do have at least one base on Greenland. So first of all, why are you complaining? You already have one and you're allowed to be there. But if they want to, they can take that away from you. Now, if he tries to say, oh, we're just going to take it anyways, I'm going to remind people again, this is the same thing that Stalin did. This is the same thing that Hitler did. This is the same thing that various Caesars did. It's not right. You can't do that. And it always inevitably ends in that aggressor being the loser in the end. They never win in the end.
I honestly don't see how it's going to get there because the entire European Union is up in arms.
They're not going to allow it.
Stuff he said.
Yeah.
It's not just, the Greenland and the Dutch that are up in arms. There's a lot of other European Union political people that are coming out like this man has lost his mind. Of course, he's already pulled the U.S. out of the World Health Organization. He's already pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Treaty.
Yeah.
It's going to be a crazy 4 years. So buckle your
there's a lot of things, and basically, completely ostracizing transgender people instantaneously.
Yeah.
By executive order, basically saying you don't exist. So he's now going to force people who've already gone through a full operation and for mental reasons absolutely can't go back. The psychological reasons, they forget it. There's going to be people that are going to try to off themselves over it, but they're going to be forced to go into a man's bathroom.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
And transgender women have, that commit a crime, got to go to a man's prison. You don't think they're going to get raped daily? Okay, I'm getting
you're getting into the area that's not
because it pisses me off. But anyways,
it's the last thing I'm going to say is I thought it funny that there was a what are your province leaders called?
Premiers
of a province that said that he was going to cut off all exports of liquor to the U.S.
Well, that's my province.
We're the largest importer of alcohol from Canada. I thought, that's gonna create an uproar right there too. No more liquor. Lynchburg better kick up the old Jack Daniels.
Here's the thing. Canadian booze is kind of funny because a lot of the American booze is actually made here. It's just in name now. It's like buying Coca-Cola. It's made here. It's not made there. It probably tastes different here than it does there, even to be honest with you. But there is, of course, imports and a lot of it. But Canada also has a very good reputation for a number of whiskeys and vodkas and so on and so forth that are renowned even in the U.S. And amongst other places. So we're not going to run out of booze under no circumstances. That's not going to happen. And as for the beer, all beer that we have here, with the exception of specialty shops, is not imported. For the most part, there are some imports of beer.
You misunderstood what I said. You misunderstood what I said. I'm not talking about imports into Canada. I'm talking about exports out of Canada. We export from Canada. The largest.
You import
purchaser
from Canada. We export to you, is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this guy was like, I'm cutting it off, and so he's like, Anyways, it's just look, it's gonna get crazy, and
I must have misunderstood that. I thought he was only talking about cutting off coming into Canada.
No, he's talking about like I'm not gonna allow.
We're not letting any go through either. He can't stop all of it because, but like, I'd say probably half of it comes through from Ontario. A lot of it goes from Quebec, and almost entirely the rest of it is either Alberta and or BC. Then again, Alberta's also said that they're not happy, so they're pretty much following suit.
Well, that's what he said. Yeah. He said he asked the other provinces, "Look, I'm asking you to also do this." So it's not like he's making a countrywide statement. He's making a statement for his province, and he's saying, "Look, all my buddies out there, these other provinces, I want you to do the same thing." So
they're probably going to go along with it then. No doubt.
The only thing I want to say to everybody out there that's listening, watching, whatever, is vet your information, please. Don't just always immediately believe the very first thing you hear. From this source, that source, because the information is going to be all over the place. So just, do some research. If you really think something's not right, do
and a lot of it's early days too.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of it's early days. A lot that what's true today may not be true tomorrow anyways.
Right. And there's a lot of what he's saying he doesn't even have the power of doing. So it's, he likes to, anyways.
Well, he's already issued a couple of executive orders that the Supreme Court has already said, no, this is the way it's going to be. So in order to actually do that, even with an executive order, it's basically saying I have power over the Supreme Court,
well, he did get the TikTok ban reversed in 12 hours. So.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of a little bit different, right?
Well, maybe
we're not talking about individual rights at this point. When you basically suddenly turn around and say, I don't care what the Supreme Court says, I'm going to change it because I feel like it. Anyways, let's move on. We said we were going to move on a long time ago.
You kept interrupting me.
No, you brought up more. Let's go. Samsung,
they
decided to unpack. And by the way, if you see me looking up, it's because I've cached this. I'm using my phone. I've cached this to my TV, and I can see it bigger up there. So if I look up like that once in a while, that's why. Unpacked.
Samsung Unpacked. Actually, I would have to say Samsung knows how to put on a show. I think the Samsung Unpacked event actually visually looks better than Google's does. I'll just have to say that. It looked.
I don't think it was true this year. I'm sorry. Last year, I guarantee it was true. Year before, absolutely. This year, I think it was pretty close.
It might be close.
I think Google did a lot better job this year than they've done maybe since the very first Pixel. First Pixel was excellent.
They've stepped it up. But it was a really cool event. They talked about some cool AI stuff. Obviously, the S25 Ultra, which I have ordered mine. It'll be here on the 7th of February. Looking forward to it. But I will say this. It doesn't appear that it's as big of a leap as I was thinking it was going to be AI-wise. A lot of this stuff is probably going to be coming to the S24 series. There might be a few things because obviously their neural processing units better, and there's other algorithms in it that
it'll probably work faster and a little bit more efficiently.
Well, yeah, they got a better CPU. They got the Snapdragon 8 Elite and it's specific for Samsung, so it's designed for the hardware it's running in.
Well, you mentioned they have that specific part of the chip or that is just for AI processing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, again, that's something Google's been doing for 2 or 3 years, I think.
Well, they've had that in the other phones. I'm just saying it's been improved. It's not.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. So it's even for Google, it was like okay up until the Pixel 9, and it's still not as good as it's going to be next year. So Samsung's this year should be leaps and bounds ahead in the ability to do things more efficiently, which should help with battery life. When I say things quicker, I'm not talking about you're going to take your phone versus my phone and you're going to be done an hour before me doing the same tasks. But it's less frustrating when you want to ask, who to do something for you, like turn this app on and change the lights to that color or whatever. Right now, even on my Pixel 9 Pro XL, I do that, and there's a little bit of and then it does it, and it's not long. And it's nice, and it's much faster than the 8 Pro was with Assistant. Gemini is much quicker, but Samsung's processing power should change that so it's almost instantaneous, in some cases at least, anyways.
Yeah, they're adding at the bottom. I'm sure you saw like this little Gemini bar. You can, instead of long pressing the power button, doesn't bring up Bixby anymore. It's yeah, and it doesn't
I
bring
already
up
got mine
Bixby
going.
anymore. It brings up Gemini,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. But here's a little bit of an odd thing. I didn't expect this. They're actually integrating Gemini with Bixby. Now,
I don't
I
know that
didn't
they're
have a
integrating it.
chance.
I think Bixby is going to basically pull knowledge-based stuff from it, and they've changed the voice to be more natural by adding some of those algorithms into it. I
Okay,
don't
well,
know
what I
that
was
it's
trying to say
emerging.
is what they're saying is that Gemini will have web-based capability, and
Okay,
Bixby will be more focused on actually accessing device information and
right.
capabilities. So there
Okay.
is some type of, not maybe integration is the wrong word, but some kind of hand in hand, hey, we're going to do this together kind of thing. Which
Yeah, but
my assumption was Bixby was going away completely, but it's not. They have
I
not
think
got rid of it.
what they should have got rid of Bixby, of course, absolutely. But I think there may be some slight misunderstanding stuff, and obviously you're going to find this out when you have the phone. But judging by what I saw from somebody doing a not a first hand impression, what is a hands on? And by the way, I hate it when guys say I'm going to do here's a hands on video, and they don't have it. So it's not really hands on, but I guess he either he was at the event or he watched the live stream and he was given a package about information that you otherwise wouldn't have had, right?
I
Because
guess, yeah.
in any case, yeah, probably. So, anyways, when he talked about the Bixby thing, he made it more clear. At least it seemed that way. If he's right, and that's again wait, we have to wait and see a little bit because there's a little confusion here, but he made it seem very much more like Bixby was going to be an improved version of what it was, but it was still basically going to be pretty much what you said, on device stuff. But here's the thing. I think most people will probably just opt to use Gemini anyways, since you can use it with Google Docs, since you Samsung, whatever the Samsung versions of all that is, with their Samsung messages, with Google messages, basically the Samsung apps that are equivalent to the Google apps. Gemini will work with both of them right out of the box. And there was one part where they were talking about adding stuff to the calendar in the same sentence as actually asking about it, and he mentioned that on there too. So I guess he did get some other stuff that we didn't see in the main keynote. As an example, and I tried it out myself on my Pixel to see. This is not something that is just new to that in the way it was doing it, because it's an updated version of Gemini. But it should work faster and more efficiently on the S25, and being able to say something like, when is the next concert for, and I used the example of Billy Joel, and can you add it to my calendar? And it just did it. But for me, because it's working on device, it looks for the information on the web and immediately comes back to on device and uses only on device, and then opens my calendar and inserts that information into the calendar. So it took probably 22 seconds. The S25 Ultra will probably do it in 5, 10, 8 seconds, whatever, 15 seconds less, even who knows, right? It'll probably be almost instant. So,
Well, I'm not really sure. I know that there was one video I watched about this whole calendar situation that was, they said you have to use the Samsung calendar in order for it to just automatically do it with no input from the end user. Now, again, that's on the Samsung. That might not be the same with the Pixel, because the Pixel is integrated with Google Calendar.
No, this guy,
and all of that.
This guy showed the demonstration using Gemini, not Bixby.
It is Gemini, but my point is that they use, by what I understand, again, I didn't have a chance to really research much because obviously I watched it at work, and so I didn't have a chance to vet some of the information. But the way it looked like to me was, when you bring up Gemini, you're telling Gemini, right. But as far as the on-device action, that's a Bixby action.
Normally that would be true, but let me just put it to you this way. Google has already made the announcement that this functionality was coming to basically all phones with Gemini integrated into it. Not that you download the Gemini app too. So that basically means all Pixel phones and every Samsung phone that has Gemini baked into it, which of course would be the S25 series and up, possibly S24. I'm not sure. And it'll probably trickle down to the S23 too, to be honest with you. Maybe not running as efficiently, but it'll still be perfectly fine.
Well, we're going to find out.
That's why I'm saying I don't think Bixby has anything to do with that.
Well, that's not what they said, but again, I haven't bet it. And when I get it in my hand and I try it, I'll know, because I don't use Samsung Calendar. I don't use any Samsung apps.
Exactly.
It's all Google apps.
And so they're trying to promote if
it's going to work the same or not. We'll have to see.
It will.
But,
it will.
We'll have to see.
You'll have zero issues with that. I trust me, because you're going to have a phone that's going to work faster than this will, with a more efficient chip. And this is I love this phone, right? But let's face it, you're going to have a more advanced phone with a top-end chip, top-end graphics, everything. And when you tell it to do something, it will do it. And it'll probably do it more efficiently and probably have better battery life than mine does. I'm not going to get jealous of it, because the next phone I get will be similar.
The One UI 7 is a big improvement over 6. Yeah. I like the way it looks in some of the videos and images I've seen, so it looks pretty awesome. So we'll see.
Widget manipulation, and I like that.
Yeah, and it's got some new widget capabilities, which is pretty cool. So we'll see. If the phone itself, too, hardware-wise, has a bigger vapor chamber, so you should be able to do, task-intensive things without it running too hot, hopefully. That's always been a problem with any phone I've ever had. If you're playing games or doing some super intensive thing, they all seem to get hotter than I think they should.
Bigger vapor chamber. It doesn't get hot.
Yeah, well, so there you go.
There you go. So testify that does work. And Samsung's is going to be even bigger, because it's even more powerful chip. Well, considerably more powerful. So
same size battery, because battery technology hasn't really leaped yet. I know they do have a new battery technology that's available that Samsung apparently is using in the S26. So I hear, and they didn't do it I forget what it's called. I'd have to look it up, but it's kind of a moot point because it's not there anyway. So I didn't bother to spend a lot of time looking at it. But supposedly this new battery technology is higher density, so you can have larger battery. It's more efficient power wise. It's going to run cooler. Blah blah blah. Again.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to know about that. So we have to find out some more information about that.
Well,
sure.
Proof's in the pudding. We've heard stuff like that with other things. It's like, show me.
Well, when we finally get to the point where they can make a solid state battery inexpensively and it works. Woohoo! Because that'll be the one. They won't blow up. They'll have like 4 times the capacity, half the weight. It's like, so it's kind of nice. But
I do like the flat screen. I think the phone looks really good. Some people are like, oh, it looks the same. It's this and that. Which, I mean,
rounded edges, man, doesn't look anything the same.
Well, I mean, they're talking about just like the outside of the rounded edges, the overall aesthetic, the back, the front, the camera bumps, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But look, if it works, why constantly change something just to change it?
I agree.
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's fine,
No,
I like
agree.
the rounded corners.
The camera moving too much just for the sake of saying, oh, we got to make it look different. When you've already made it look different, you've made it more comfortable to hold. You made the screen flat. You did everything that customers were asking for, including some who said, I'm not going back unless you make a flat screen, or I'm not going back unless you take the sharp edges off that eye poker, right? So, it's the same thing with Google, right? They do. It may be a camera island instead of a camera full bar, but they basically kept the basic design. But again, they flattened the screen, they rounded the edges a little bit more, and the corners, I mean, and it works. They've sold more of those than they have of any other Pixel ever. And Samsung is probably going to have a bumper year with a phone that some people might decide to switch from whatever phone they're using, because now Samsung has a nicer looking phone.
I think it looks great, and
it does.
I'm anxious to get it. The only thing I was a little bummed about, it does have the faster QI charging, but they did not put the magnet in it, so it's not.
So it's ready.
Yeah, so you still have to use a MagSafe.
I don't know why I had to do it like this, just like Dr. Evil.
Yeah. I was a little bummed about that. I was really hoping that was a true rumor, because that would have been like epic for me. But
sure.
Because I don't, unless I absolutely have to, I don't plug it in. It's all my charging is done wirelessly. So I was actually hoping that was a true rumor, and unfortunately,
but on the other hand, though, you're used to using the MagSafe style cases, anyways.
Yes.
So this is something that the only difference is that now you need to get one that is certified to be the Qi 2 version of MagSafe type stuff, right? Now we're not supposed to say MagSafe, because that's a copyright of Apple.
Yes, I know.
But they were smart enough to do that right away. When I mean, that's exactly what the whoever does the Qi stuff, I can't remember what you call it. They should have done that. That would have made them millions, right? But no. Okay.
Well, I tried to find some third-party cases before I made my order, and usually they're out like the day before. You can buy some, but I was not able to. And
challenge accepted.
I ordered. Well, no, I'm talking yesterday. You can't go back to yesterday and check. They're probably available today, because I'm sure everybody, as soon as pre-orders went, they just released everything. But I went ahead and picked up the one from Samsung, because they give you big credit, so I almost got it. I got it for like $5 or something. So I got the Samsung case. But I'm sure there's going to be 5,000 different cases that are going to come in.
Okay, so which one did you order?
The S25 Ultra. Of course.
Right. S25 Ultra MagSafe case. Now, I forgot to say one that was, what's the word I was looking for? Certified Qi 2. So I should change that to, oh my God, I forgot how to spell it.
But at any rate, I got the Samsung cases because they were cheap with this credit they gave you when you pre-ordered. So, super stoked to get it. As in Samsung fashion, they gave you like phenomenal, pre-order deals. So
they have a ton of these things.
Well, I know they do now today. I was talking yesterday. I wanted to order one yesterday in preparation
that's absolutely
which I've
crazy
done before, but I couldn't. None of them were available.
With Pixels, I'm always able to order at least 3 days before the actual announcement of the phone, which is crazy, because usually what happens, I end up getting the case either the day before or the day of that it arrives. So I end up having the case already when the phone shows up.
Well, I'm pretty sure I did that with my S23, but I don't know. It kind of surprised me.
What brand do you prefer? Because I'm assuming all of the big brands are going to start offering. Because up until this year, it was just garbage brands that were giving you those cases, like cheap Chinese knockoffs and stuff like that, right? But I'm assuming all of the big names are gonna be able to.
Well, I went to Spigen. They didn't have it. I also went to.
Is that how you pronounce it? Because I've been pronouncing it wrong. If that's the case.
I don't know. That's the way I've always pronounced it.
I just say Spigen, but then again, I'm going to be Spigen. No offense, as an American, you probably are mispronouncing it.
Oh my God! As an American, no offense. Offense taken.
Offense taken.
Peak Design didn't have any, so I don't know. I'm sure they're going to have
Peak Design is always late to the party. What they do is they actually wait for the official phone. Peak Design likes to actually wrap it around the official phone and not just a fake thing for design purposes. And I respect the hell out of that company for that. The Peak Design is absolutely brilliant when they design products. Fantastic.
The only thing I don't like about their cases, and I don't know if it's going to be the same with the S25, but the buttons on the side, for power and volume, they're really, really hard to push in. And so if you just want to like hit your power button to like turn your screen off, you have to like really push it. And that's kind of irritating. But other than that, they're stellar product. Yeah, I know it's available today. That's what I said. I'm sure today there's 9,000. It was yesterday that I looked, not today.
Oh, you haven't looked today at all?
No, I've already bought it from Samsung. Why would I look again? I already have one that's coming with the phone.
But not a Spigen? Or Spigen, as you like to say?
No. It's from Samsung. Whoever manufactures their stuff.
This is encouraging to me because I always use Spigen.
Whatever, dude. Whatever.
And so that means the next phone, I'm assuming we're going to have the G2 in the next Pixel phone, which means I will be able to get my Spigen immediately when that happens. So I'm going to be happy about that. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, well, if they would have released it a day early like they usually do, then I would have bought one, but they did not. So
let's talk about some of the features that they talked about that are actually available for at least Pixel phones and maybe other phones. But here's the thing. Some of these things may have been already available on Samsung's devices, and they may have just made improvements, and they made it seem like in that Unpacked event that these were new. When they may have just been improved on the Samsung device. And some of them, as I mentioned, that were technically available already, although maybe not for Samsung. The audio eraser, something Pixel's been doing. I want to say this. The only reason why I have a gripe about this is because they have this whole, bedfellow thing going on with Google. But they don't give any credit to that. This whole thing was done by Google, and they just basically took it and put some extra stuff into it and put it on the Samsung specifically rather than in Google Photos. And for all I know, maybe they improved it. And I think in all honesty, I think it's a ball drop. Instead of, what I would have done if I was Samsung is I would have said, yeah, Google has this great thing. We worked with them to have this integrated into the Samsung device so it can work right on the device, does not need to be online to work, which, by the way, it doesn't with Pixel either. And then we made some improvements to it, and this is how. That would have been a fantastic, because it might be better. In all honesty, I probably think it probably is because of the processing power that phone has. So
I have no idea. So, but yeah, it's new to the Samsung line. I know your heavenly God sent Pixel.
Oh, stop it!
Has had it for a couple series, but
okay. And the best face feature. No, I know I've shown you this myself. So.
See, I thought that was already in Samsung because when they showed that, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure that's already been in.
No, I think you had a different version of it on a previous device, possible. Maybe. But again, this is nothing. This isn't a new thing. Although I will say this, for doing it exactly the way it does it, Pixels and Samsung devices will be the only phones up to this point that do that in that manner. Anything else requires some other form of app or dragging and dropping your face in or something. This just uses, it's not technically even really using AI. It's really just scanning the pictures and going, okay, this one's smiling and this one's not. Pick which face you want to replace this one with. And it's a nice feature. Inevitably, what Samsung is improving upon, though, is they're going to have the option, probably not out of the gate, but down the line, to actually use AI to automatically find that best picture. So that's good. But here's the thing. You have to do that with Samsung with that specific mode where you have the motion photo thing or whatever they call it. Right. With Google, you don't have to have that on. You simply have to take more than one picture in a series. And if they're similar, then it will see the faces and offer you to change this face with that.
Yeah. It's, again, I'm sure there's times I could have used it, but for the most part, I don't have a big need for that. So I don't know how it functioned before. It's not one of the things I've really used. Just like the sound thing. Now that would be pretty cool if you're taking a video in a loud environment. That would be a nice
no, it's fantastic. You will enjoy that. There'll be places where you'll shoot a short video and you'll be happy to get rid of that car noise in the background or the wind noise.
Yeah.
And it does work. It's just like
really Magic Eraser. That was like groundbreaking when it came out, and I still use it to this day. And it's fantastic when you go out and you're taking pictures and you're like, people are there and you're like, can't tell them to move. You're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just magic erase them, and it actually comes out pretty good. It's actually come a long way. It works way better now than it first did.
Your version is not quite like Pixel's version. It's better. Like the original Pixel Magic Eraser was decent, but it always left a little splotch, whatever you removed. But the Gemini AI version that they also have in it, which they've baked into Google Photos, so you have to have Google Photos on the Pixel to do it. That one is actually considerably better, and that would be the same one that Samsung basically worked on with Google, and that's why it works as well as it does, because they put that much more effort into it. And then Google and Samsung say, okay, well, you call it yours and I'll call it mine and whatever. But
here's a funny thing though, and I've tested this on my S23. So there are some types of pictures that my Google Photos app does a better job with than the Samsung app, and then vice versa. And also,
I believe that.
I find that the Samsung filters, like when you can like take a picture and you can go to vibrant or whatever, does a better job of analyzing the image and adding the correct changes than what the Photos does. So that's kind of interesting. So not always. I'm saying it's like it flip-flops back and forth sometimes. So why are you taking a picture of the—
Oh wait, I did that wrong. I got to be right up here. And there we go. And take a picture of that. Because while you're telling me that, I want to actually do a quick experiment with this shot.
But you can't experiment with Samsung's tool. You don't.
What are you talking about? What do you mean you can't experiment? I'm talking about I'm taking a picture and I'm going to. You're confusing me now.
But my previous comment was about the Samsung Gallery app versus the Google Photos app, and how different types of photos, each one handles some differently than the other. It's like you can't take the same exact picture and do the same exact type edit in Photos as you do in Gallery and it turn out the exact same way. They have their own algorithm as to how it adjusts the image. I find that the Samsung Gallery does some things better than the Google Photos. Now, it might be different on the Pixel. It might be different on the Pixel as far as how the AI algorithm works. I don't know. So
yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm just using the AI in the photo I just took to erase something, which I have to now save the copy. But then I'm going to do another version with Magic Eraser, because it's actually quite crazy how different they'll actually turn out. What am I doing? I'm not trying to get a raw editor.
I will say there was a time I had taken a picture. I was trying to get a picture of my grandkids, both of them looking at me smiling. We were at a restaurant, right? And I think I showed this to you. And I could not get them both to be looking at me at the same time or smiling at the same time. Right. I was able to literally crop out my granddaughter from one picture on my phone, copy it, go over to the other picture, crop her out of the other picture, and then paste her other picture back where she was. And you couldn't even tell.
No, that's the thing, the best take thing or best face or whatever Samsung calls it. That's where that comes in handy. it would do that and just let you pick the face and add it to that picture, and then it just takes a few seconds and it's done.
But that was pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm really kind of curious to see how the new AI algorithm is going to work with photos. I did see something that's really cool, that you can use the Gemini AI stuff on the Samsung device to create a GIF from that image picture. Like how it has the motion picture, it'll automatically like allow you to create your own GIF out of any of those pictures, which is kind of cool. I mean, I don't create a lot of those, but I guess if you wanted to, you had a funny moment, it might be cool to have it instead of a video.
That is the original picture. This was with the regular, wrong way. The regular magic eraser. You notice I took you out of there, and look what it did to the background. and then I used the AI version of it. And you can see the difference. It tried to put like a little monitor in there or something. But it actually made it look cleaner in doing so. So that's the major difference in there, is that it does a better job using the AI rather than just going, okay, well, let's clean up this pixel and whatnot. So I think what happens here is most of the time when you're using that with your device, you're getting the better version of that. It's the AI that says, yeah, there's a line here and there's a line here, so it should continue, and this is erased. And maybe we can fill this in over here. Rather than just putting a splotch where it was.
Well, I find it actually pretty accurate in not all cases, but in some cases of understanding what's behind what it's removing, and then generating that continuation of the image.
How this one had any idea that there was something behind you that it could decide, oh, that's going to be a small monitor. I don't know. The other one put
I don't know.
Like it thought the squares on your wall were like what do you call it? Pigeonholes, right? So it made shelves and stuffed them. That's what, if you couldn't see the picture as well as I could, obviously, from on here, but that's pretty much what it did. It made the assumption that was a bunch of pigeonholes. That's some pretty big ass pigeonholes.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's funny.
So you can go in there and see if your mail's in your slot. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's funny. You don't know how it looks at it, but and I'm sure this right here there's a lot going on behind me as far as what AI is going to look at because of the squares, the checkerboard,
and the different colorings, and
the boxes I have over here, the TV, and there's a lot going on. So
which surprises me that the AI version did such a good job of it and deciding, well, I don't know if this should be continuing squares. Let's put a little monitor here. I thought it was actually kind of cool. I honestly, would I prefer it just said, oh, I see squares on the wall and there appears to be something sitting on possibly a table. Let's just continue that. But then it doesn't know. Is it a table or is it a poster? There's no way for it to know because it's too dark. So it can't see it.
I don't know why that's like the black is box. The box is black. So maybe that's kind of what's making that look so mature.
Are you talking about the group from the 90s, Black Box?
No.
Strike it up.
So.
Oh man.
Anyways, I'm looking forward. Okay. I know too, we missed the fact that they did a 50 megapixel ultra wide as opposed to
we didn't get into that. You're right. That's pathetic.
But,
the 50 megapixel ultra wide is probably going to be one of your favorite things. Not that you're going to take more ultra wide pictures, but the ones that you do take are now going to be absolutely stunning. And one of the things I noticed, if the demonstration holds true, is that you're going to have zero color cast difference going from lens to lens to lens to lens. Which is something Google finally did in the Pixel 9 Pro XL as well. And it's nice to know you can go from the ultra wide all the way to the telephoto without suddenly going more blue or more yellow.
Yeah, I do remember them saying that the transition is going to be faster too. It's not going to have that pause in between cameras.
It looks pretty smooth, actually, too. Unlike the jerkiness that you get on the Pixel when it changes cameras, which is improved.
Yeah, I have that on my S23. It's kind of weird when you might be like right on that line and you're trying to get it just right,
and then there's kind of a jerk and it goes into focus, and so I like, oh, that doesn't look that good. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, right.
and yeah, it would be nice. I mean, Apple basically nailed that years ago. Like years ago, they've been able to like zoom from one camera to the other with zero. You can't even tell.
They did mention that it's now on par with that. And of course, you got all bummed out because they're only doing a 12 megapixel selfie camera, which I could really care less about the selfie camera.
But here's the thing. It's still garbage. It doesn't make any sense to put only a 12 megapixel because it's going to cost them quite literally about $1.50 more to put a better sensor in there. And the processing power is not going to make that much of a difference because you're going to use one camera over the other anyways. And most people aren't going to use a full 50 megapixels for a selfie pic all the time because they're doing it for social media. But the idea that you have the option, if you want to do a better picture, but you need to set it up yourself, you can still get top quality and not have to guess or use your watch, which only works a little bit because you can never get perfect framing with the watch. A round watch. It doesn't work. I've done it and it can be done, but you can't frame it perfectly. If you're a photographer, it doesn't work very well.
Well, I don't think they design. I think that's more of a like, hey, let me just get a rough idea to make sure your face isn't being cut in half.
No, I agree. But don't get me wrong, you can take phenomenal pictures. Do you remember that the picture of the Milky Way I shared last summer?
Yeah.
Right. I used the watch, so I didn't have to touch it. Right. I put it on the roof of my car, and I got it all set up on the watch, and I just pushed the button and then stood back and got bored for 5 minutes.
I've used my watch many times, especially like for Christmas pictures. I just set it up on a tripod, and I use my watch, and I kind of make sure we're all in the frame, and away you go.
I also had to do that 5 minutes like 3 or 4 times because the first 2 or 3. I'd get about halfway and somebody would drive as slow as possible by with their high beams on because I was out on the outside of a trailer park. I was on the outside of a trailer park, right? Out in the middle of nowhere. And they have to drive out very slowly. There's rules. You cannot go faster there. So it's like 5 kilometers an hour. Which is like a billionth of a mile per hour or something. So there's moving, creeping slow, and they got these high beams on, and I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So now forget it. Stop. Do it again. Next thing you know, car coming around the corner, nice and slow. Stop. Do it again. Now, if they went by at a decent speed, it really wouldn't matter because the thing's pointing up, and that little bit extra light is only going to give a slight glow, which is going to be nothing compared to what the stars in 5 minutes are offering. So that's
I like how Samsung has pinned a new name too for astrophotography. It's now.
Yeah, well, I knew we can get to that segue.
What is it? Nightography.
Nightography, which I don't think they're the first to say it. I think they're just the first to actually not patent. What's the word I'm looking for? Copyright. I think they're the first to copyright the term.
Oh,
so because it's been said before.
Copyrighted?
It probably is now if they've got it in print. And if they don't have it in print, then you're going to lose money.
It was in print all over the screen.
yeah. So they've probably copywritten it. Yeah. So they probably have rights to use that now. They've own the rights for it now, most likely. But I think it sounds stupid. But then
it does.
Nightography. I'm sorry, it's not like nighttime photography is something new. And I'm not even talking about cell phones. It's been a thing for how long photography has been around. Yeah. Longer you open the shutter, the more lights you're going to get, and all the phones do the same thing now, but they take about 25 or 30 pictures along the way, each one of them anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds long, depending on how they do it. And that's why you get what you get. You get a sharper picture, a brighter picture, less noise. Do I think theirs is going to be good? I think theirs is going to be phenomenal because of the processing power.
Yeah, the screen is a newer version of the Gorilla Glass, which is cool. And it's supposed to be anti-reflective and less fingerprint of a fingerprint magnet.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's definitely never my first priority on a phone. But that strength, I did like that. They did mention something about sapphire, but it's not actual. Just to be clear, this is an actual sapphire glass. I believe what they did was they did a coating of that on it, something like that. I can't remember how. But this Corning, they've got so many tricks up their sleeves. I think Apple is to this day the only one that does a full sapphire glass.
And the frame is still all titanium on the Ultra, not on the.
They said something about it being stronger for some reason. I don't know what makes it stronger though.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
My S23 is a titanium frame, so
maybe it's because of the rounded edges, which in reality, in physics, would make it stronger. And that's just how it is. You can actually run numbers on that. If as soon as you put sharp corners on something, it's not as strong. Period.
Yeah, but no one's taking the phone and going.
That's not what I'm talking about. If you drop a sharp-edged phone on the corner, on its edge, it will break faster than a rounded corner phone. 100% true. That's why Sony's were always garbage. They made so many sharp-edged phones in the day, and almost all of them broke the first time they dropped. Right? But you for the last several years now, almost everybody's dropped their Samsungs, their Pixels, even some Apple phones, which aren't as good as people think when it comes to dropping, but you might get a little crack in the glass or even shatter. But most of the time, these phones still work perfectly fine. That's not something you could say 10 years ago. When you dropped your phone 10 years ago, it was done.
Well, I mean,
I know because I've had it happen to me 2 phones in a row.
Put a case on it, people. That's all
yeah, exactly, exactly, right. And here's why. As I take the case off mine, this might look really cool, but this is glass. I don't care if it's Corning Gorilla Glass. It's glass. It will break. And the other thing people don't take into account is it's not necessarily about it dropping like that. It's about when it drops like that, back or front, and there's a tiny, and I mean tiny pebble on the ground that you don't even see.
Yeah.
Right? That tiny pebble, when it falls flat, is one spot the entire weight of the phone hits first.
Yep.
Shattered screen.
Yep. No matter what.
And then people will go online and say, "Oh, my phone screen just shattered. I didn't do anything. It fell on the carpet." Yeah, you had a Lego in the carpet. Wake up.
So here's something that you didn't see because I know you weren't watching at the end. But when
I did watch the end,
the very, very end,
I watched it after. But go on.
Well,
go on.
So you saw it. They've been talking about the S25 Thin. It's not S25 Thin. They're calling it S25 Edge. They teased it, but they didn't tell you any information about it. They said, "Oh,
I think it's all done." That part, actually,
when you think everything's done, then it comes out when they show this phone like getting put together in the background, all the pieces and cameras, and it looks kind of cool. And it says S25 Edge, and then
I kind of
just cuts off the screen. So
I kind of skipped over some stuff towards the end, I admit. So how many versions of S25 or varieties of S25 series in the series are there?
Whenever this Edge comes out, which I have no idea because I didn't.
Well, forget the Edge. Let's just talk.
Well, there's 3.
Okay, so and they are
the regular, Plus, and Ultra.
That's it.
Yeah.
So they've dumbed it down, which is probably a good thing in my opinion.
They dumbed it down. They always had 3.
No, they used to have more, didn't they?
No.
Are you sure they didn't have 4 or 5? I thought there was like a regular large one, whatever you call it, and then a smaller not quite Ultra, and then an Ultra. I don't know because I can't remember all the names of all of them except the
I don't
Ultra.
think so. I don't ever remember.
I could be wrong. I'm not a Samsung expert.
Well, neither am I. And if it's prior to the S23, I mean, I don't know all the details about the previous models, but I know from the S23 forward,
I got to remember now. How many pixels are there? There's a Pixel 9, Pixel. How many pixels are there? I'm going to ask.
There's
Google
a Pixel
now.
9, Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9 Pro XL, which is the same thing like the. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
How many Pixel? How many versions of the Pixel 9 are there in the Pixel 9 series?
There are 3 versions of the Pixel 9 series.
Okay, so you're right. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot. Yeah,
so they have the regular Samsung, which is a smaller one. They have the Samsung Plus, the S25 Plus, a little bigger and doesn't have all the cameras, and the Ultra, which is a little bigger and has all the cameras and all the stuff in it, and titanium and all that, blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah. I see. Now, I honestly wondered if Samsung would go the same route that Google did, and that they would make the middle phone a smaller version of their Ultra, or in Google's case, Pro, which a lot of people like because they're like, oh yeah, I definitely want that one because I want a smaller one, but I want all the features of the big one. Because they were clamoring for that for a long time. Like, why do I have to have a big phone to get all the features? Why can't I have a smaller one? They probably should have done that, because I think where Samsung is losing some customers is the ability to have top-end features, all of them in a smaller device. There are people that just want a smaller device and maybe pay $50 to $100 less.
So
and still get all
the
features.
S25 is 6.2. The S25 Plus is 6.7. I think the Ultra is 6.8. I think, isn't it?
6.9. I think it went up to, didn't it?
I'm going to tell you
because of the smaller bezels.
Yeah, it's 6.9. So
yeah.
So 6.9, 6.7, and 6.2.
Just to put this into perspective, by the way, if you put a phone that's 6.8 next to one that's 6.9, and they have basically the same dimensions otherwise, you won't see the difference.
No.
You will once you start getting into about 3.3. There's a minor difference. 0.5, you start to really notice it. But 0.1, no.
You're not gonna notice that.
Where you will notice it, though, is that the bezels are insanely thin now. Yeah. Very, very thin. And I say this coming from the Pixel 9 Pro XL, which has very thin bezels, but is like third place overall in thin bezels. They're not even number one, and they're already insanely thin. So that thing is almost entirely
I honestly don't know
screen.
how they can get much thinner than what they are. I mean,
well, technically speaking, they could go completely, entirely right to the edge. There's zero reason why they can't. I mean, first of all, the screens are still technically flexible, so it can go all the way to the edge of the glass. There's zero reason why it can't. But the reason that it doesn't at this point is obvious, because if they're going to give you all of the real estate, they need to give it to you up to a certain point to guarantee that you're getting the real estate. As soon as you start putting it too close to the edge, you might as well have a curved screen again. Otherwise, you're going to miss the edges of the picture.
Well, yeah, especially and they got to take into account, phone cases, because if you put a case on it, you're never getting to the edge. Like even on this right here,
exactly.
I have a hard time getting to the very edge of that phone.
Yeah, let me look at mine. Yeah, see, because my bezels are almost invisible with the case I have on. Like like if I take the case off, I can see the bezels and they're very thin. When I have the case on, it looks like they have no bezels.
Right.
And I could barely get my finger onto that screen at the edge.
Yeah, and I know a lot of cases now are just having the top and the bottom protrude out, and the sides are kind of like down a little bit, so you don't have to hit the case to come and swipe from the side.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, that's fine. I don't mind that. I do like the the raised edge on the top and bottom, at least, because that way it helps keep it from smacking face down. But
right.
I don't know. Yeah, it's and anxious to get it, check it out. I don't think it's as big of a leap as what I was expecting it to be AI wise, because I think a lot of the stuff is going to come to the S24. Not everything, because some of it is NPU based, but
I think you need to wait till you get it in your hands. I think you're going to be surprised because you remember I've said this to you before. You have a phone that's already more powerful than mine, even though it's a year old or 2 years old, actually. Sorry. And it's still more powerful chip. It still works great. You still love it. And there's certain features that you said if the S24 didn't have, you wouldn't even bother upgrading right now because your phone's good enough. And that's totally understandable. A lot of people feel that way about a good phone. Now I've lost track of what I was going to say.
Well, I
done it again.
I used to replace every year, and yeah, if some of the AI features that were only available on this S25 series were available as a software like upgrade or update, I might not have updated or upgraded. But
some of them will be.
But the majority, as far as mine is concerned, like the S24 to S25, but S23 doesn't even have what S24 has. So it's going to be a pretty big leap.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So the AI part of it is going to be the biggest leap for you. And that I understand, because a lot of the things that they talked about, again, this is stuff I have in this phone, and this is a massive leap over the Pixel 8 Pixel 8 Pro. And a lot of people say, "Oh, is it fairly a leap?" And it's like, did you have both phones? Because it's a massive leap. It's better. It's faster. Screen is better. Screen is brighter. The AI is better. Everything works better on this phone. Now, don't get me wrong. I got Gemini on that. I even have it on the 7, and it works fantastic. But does it work as efficiently with the phone in everything that it does? No. This phone is way better with that stuff baked right into it. Also, Google is going to put more stuff into their previous phones than Samsung might do of Google products, right? Which I kind of understand, because they still want to keep you as much in the new stuff with their own stuff as much as possible, plus the Google stuff. So, yeah, I think you're going to be surprised at how much bigger a leap it is than you think. I think your camera is going to be a much bigger leap than what you're thinking, because I have a feeling that when you take a picture, even with 50 megapixels, it's going to be near instantaneous snapping.
Well, they also have something too that I completely forgot about until right now, is they have some kind of AI capability that gives you a virtual aperture adjustment. So
that's right.
You get some really cool.
Swear to God, if Google doesn't add that shit into the next phone, I quit and I'm going to Samsung.
I mean, the pictures they showed were really good. I'm like, wow, that looks really cool.
Again, this is something that Apple's been doing for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So they do a brilliant job of it. So it's nice to see, though, that this is now available on a top end Android device. Because again, companies like Huawei and OnePlus have also been doing it. But it looks like they've implemented it slightly better than any other Android phone, and at least as good as Apple has done it, where you can quite literally say, okay, I'm going to take this picture. And if you're a photographer, like if I said to you right now that I want to take a picture of you, or I want you to take a picture of me rather, and I want you to do this, say there's trees and stuff behind me. I want it to be obvious that they're trees, but they need to be blurred enough that they're not a distraction. What aperture are you going to put your phone camera on? Exactly, right? But you would learn that thing. So here's the thing. It's easy because you get to learn that without having to change a lens or go like this with a camera. People who don't understand it have a difficult time. But when you can just sit on your phone and go, okay, 2.4, 1.8, 5.6. Oh, I see how it works. And that's it. And by the way, if you wanted to do that, it would probably, depending on how far away you were, or how close you were, it'd probably be about 3.2 or 2.8 for what I said. 1.8 would make almost everything blur in the background. 1.4 would be just completely blown out background. It'd be nothing but fuzzy colors.
Yeah, and of course they have 10-bit log, video, which again I've never even played with anything like that, so I might test it out and see.
Yeah, then there's jealousy involved here now. Now I'm jealous. Not that I could do anything with log video because I don't have a stinking laptop that works right now. But but my God, would I love to get into DaVinci Resolve with some log footage. So listen, when you get your phone, shoot some log video.
You don't think they're gonna have some capability
here
on device?
And I'll give you some very quick pointers on how to edit log video, which is extremely easy with DaVinci Resolve, by the way.
Do you not think that Samsung would give you some way of adjusting or playing with that on device?
No. Log video is for post-processing. It's pointless to try to do it on device. There's absolutely zero reason to do that on device. Otherwise, you don't shoot in log video. There's no reason to.
I'll play around with it. I never, again, I
just shoot your dang log video and you open DaVinci Resolve, put that sucker in there, and I'll show you in like less than 3 minutes how to change that video into something usable, and then another 15 minutes on how you can color grade it perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll see.
It's easy.
So
a child could do it. A child could do it.
Right. Yes. All right.
Actually, some children do that. So
yeah. Well, I think that's going to wrap up for today. So,
yeah.
Listen, a lot of cool tech coming, and in a couple of weeks when I get my phone, I'll actually have some, test stuff, and
of course you got to have a first impressions, a short review from a few days later, and then a month later a full review, right?
Yeah, so
or even a week later, depending on whatever you're doing with it.
Yeah, so we'll see.
And that'll be on his other channel. You guys can check that out when he posts it. Stay tuned to it. What's your channel called again?
Get You Guys Smart Home.
Did you change the name?
I did.
Excuse me.
I did change.
Okay. Okay. I was not paying attention then. I'm very embarrassed about that. Check his channel out. Unlike this guy. Check it out.
Right.
He does have very good content on there. I swear I do watch it. I'm just not paying attention to the fact that he changed the name.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, all right. Yeah. Cool stuff. I'm sure there's going to be tons of people talking about it and showcasing it. And, a lot of the, people like, Brownlee and all these big tech reviewers, they already have it, so
of course. And some of them are huge Samsung fanboys, and other ones just they review everything unbiased, but there's a few that I watch every time, and I'm gonna want to check that out. Personally, I'll be waiting for Flossie Carter's review.
Flossie Carter?
Yeah, I got to make sure that when he tests the case on it, that he can say it's Slam Boy certified. Okay. White shoes, man. If you know Flossie Carter, you know Flossie Carter. If you don't, you don't. But
yeah, I don't. So
shout out to Flossie. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll catch you next Wednesday. I'm Robert from the U.S.
Lionel from Toronto, Canada. You have a good one.
Peace out.